Hello, class. My name is Rufus Lassiter, and today I'm going to be interviewing Jacqueline McClure, an employee with Giant Food Store, a local grocery store in our area, the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. And what I want to do is I want to ask some questions in regards to some soft skills and some instances that she may have encountered working at her job. She is a bakery manager for the company. So let's get started. And you can say Jackie right here. So, Jackie, first thing I want to ask is how can limited time impact you in the workplace?
It can impact because you can't get everything done.
True.
If you limit it to 8 hours, if you limit to 20 hours for a few people, then you really can't get it done because it's a stressful job.
Right. And I know dealing with when it comes to grocery stores. I worked for Harris Teeter before. Staffing can be an issue. So, limited time definitely is very common in the grocery store business, and retail business in general. So, now, can you think of an example that you've been in this situation?
We had company, which is the PR, the big people.
Okay.
Come in the next day, and we had to get product out, labeled on the table, and we didn't have enough time to do it in. If you only having me with the 8 hours, and then you have another person, 2 people, it's a lot of work. A lot of work.
Understandable, especially with employees usually being hourly, so their shift is over. It's over.
Exactly.
And then you as a manager got to step in and take over. And then you have limited time as well. Did you adapt to the situation well?
I adapted.
Okay.
It took me, I've been with them for 31 years, but it took me a while to adapt to certain situations.
Right. I guess the more experience you have, the better it gets to
Yes,
adapt.
it does.
The easier.
It does.
Okay. Can you anticipate being in this situation again?
I can anticipate it, but I'll be ready for it.
Okay, definitely. That's good to know. So, in addition to limited time in the workplace, sometimes too much work can be an issue as well. So, to you, how can too much work impact the workplace?
It can stress. It can stress your employees out, and them not wanting to work.
This is true. That's true. Because, I guess this is where delegation of work will come in. And you work it as a team in any kind of business. You want to work as a team so that you can delegate the work and not put all work on one person. I think a common mistake with managers and themselves is they want to make sure everything is perfect. So they try to, take it among themselves to do all the work, put more stress on unnecessary stress on themselves.
Exactly.
When they can just delegate, to their employees. That's their job.
Right.
Can you give an example when too much work occurred at your workplace?
Too much work. Usually, if it's too much work, like we have cashiers. Say for instance, there's a snowstorm coming, and then that means you don't have that many people working in cashier, and the store gets bombarded. Then they're going to take the person from you in your section to take care of their section, and then it's left you with high and dry and too much work for the next person the next day.
Right, most definitely. Sorry about that. I have occurred that that's happened to me in Harris Teeter. I used to work in produce, and because they cross train you to do different departments,
Exactly.
if one gets bombarded or super busy, you're going to be taken, which leaves the department manager to kind of fend for themselves.
Yes.
So I'm glad you were able to adapt to that. Can you anticipate being in that situation again, which is too much work?
I can.
Okay.
I can, but I'll be ready for as long as they let me know what happened, then I can adapt and I'll be okay.
Okay. So include in addition to too much work, there's, and I would like I was saying, working in a team. Working in a team is not always the best thing. It can be challenging at times because there are people that don't pull their own weight. Um, so, to you, how can other people not doing their part impact the workplace?
Um, if a person's not doing their job, then the morale goes down. Because you feel like, I'm doing all the work and I don't get any favorites or I don't get anything out of it. Just maybe 4 hours to work. And the person feels like, I can't get it done, especially if your boss comes to you and says, well, why don't you get the work done?
Right.
Well, if I got to do the person's job before me, then I can't get my job done.
Correct. Understandable. Yeah, I think, people not doing their own part, it adds stress to the job. It makes tension thick in the workplace. And morale can definitely suffer from that as well. Can you think of an example when you've been in this situation?
Yeah, I had one of my really, really good staffers was on the job, and the staffer that was supposed to come in after them never came in. So that was like, they just called out. So that means that's leaving that staffer having to do their job.
Wow. I mean, is there any way that you could have, that the situation could have been better? Like, what could you have done to make the situation better, if possible?
You really can't make it better. It's like a problem that you could fix, but you would need the help to do it.
Right.
In case you can cross-train someone to come over and help when a person does call out.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. That's a good solution for that. Now, last but not least, with, people not pulling their own weight in the workplace, that can cause the next thing, which is how can conflict between and among employees impact the workplace?
In a food store and a department that is a service department, if you have your employees that's arguing against each other or don't want to work with each other, then customers don't want to come to you.
Sure.
They don't want to come in the department, or they'll stand around and it's like, why are they arguing with each other? So it stops a lot of people from coming to your department and going to the head management,
right,
to find out what's going on.
Okay, so it can affect business.
Yes, it can.
Yes, like we spoke about in class, your employees are your first step for your customers. That's what they see first. So your employees represent you. So if you have employees, in your department arguing and not talking to each other, slamming things around, customers are going to see that. They're going to feel uncomfortable, and more than likely won't return to that job.
Exactly.
I mean that place of business, or complain to higher management, and that escalates things probably to where it doesn't need to be escalated.
Exactly.
So to avoid all that, I guess do some team building events. I know that kind of works with the job I'm in now. We might go to an escape room, somewhere where you build camaraderie.
Yeah.
Because being in a team that's not functional is a challenge, and it can make business suffer quite dramatically. But yeah, that's all I have. One more thing for the conflict between employees in the workplace. Have you been in that situation?
Oh yeah, a lot of times.
Wow. And how did you adapt to that?
Number one, you basically have to excuse yourself. Take your employees in the back. Just tell them basically, let's wait on the customers first. And then you take them in the back, and then you talk to them.
Yeah. You handle it out of the...
You have to handle it as an adult.
Right, and that's where a lot of people fail. Especially in the workplace. They take things, I guess, personal.
Yeah.
And that, opens the door for so much other issues. But yes, that's all I have. Questions I have for you today. I really appreciate you participating today.
Thank you.
And yeah, so class, this is some events where Jackie has encountered issues and ways that she adapted to it. So I hope everybody has a great remaining semester, and yeah, have a good night.
Good night.